Welcome to St. James Parish. I'm Monsignor John Kasza, and today's video is on confirmation. And it's part of our series on the sacraments, and we're going through and just briefly kind of outlining the theology, but also the ritual connected with the sacraments. Confirmation is the second sacrament that people receive, at least in the ancient order. It would be, baptism would be first, and basically you'd be incorporated into the church at that point. Confirmation would be the sealing of baptism, or where you recognize that you are now a full member of the church, and then finally you would receive Eucharist. But in the modern church, in the church of 2014, many times the order has been reversed. And you have baptism first when you're an infant, you receive Eucharist when you're about 7 years old, and then confirmation when you're a teenager. And that's the norm that's in most parishes. And the idea of having confirmation later is so that people can make a fuller commitment to saying yes to being a Christian. Also, the bishop comes once a year to most parishes, and it's an occasion for showing the children that they are part of a bigger entity. It's just not the parish, but they're part of a larger community known as the diocese. And they're connected to the universal church, which is the Catholic Church around the world. The bishop comes to the parish, and usually confirmation is done within the context of Mass. So we begin with an opening hymn, come up to the altar, the bishop then begins with the sign of the cross, we have the penitential rite, there's a Gloria, and then opening prayer, we sit down and listen to readings. And then the bishop, after the gospel, sits down and asks the pastor, have you prepared these children, or have these children been prepared to receive the sacrament of confirmation? They have. And then he asks the children who are about to receive the sacrament, are you ready to receive this sacrament? Yes, we are. And then he asks the sponsors of the children, are you willing to act as sponsors, and can you attest to the worthiness of these students to receive the sacrament? We can. And then the bishop will then ask the children to sit down. He will give a homily on what confirmation is. After the homily, he will invite the children to recite their baptismal promises, like we did in baptism, where the parents and godparents responded for the infant. Now these children who are of age are able to say, I believe in God the Father Almighty. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son. I believe in the Holy Spirit and the church. And then the bishop will lay hands on the child. Usually, because there's a large group, the bishop stands at the center and he just lays hands on the children symbolically. And then he says a prayer over them, asking God to infuse them with his spirit of right judgment, a spirit of compassion, a spirit of healing, a spirit of wisdom, of fortitude, of strength. He calls down the Spirit upon the children, asking them to be filled with God's mercy and God's presence. And then following that, they sit down, everyone sits down, and the children come up one by one. They are accompanied by their sponsor, so I'll invite Kevin and Deacon Glenn to come forward to simulate what's going on. So basically the sponsor, the candidate would stand, we'll turn around so we can see the video, okay? And he would stand in front of the bishop, and the bishop would say, be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. And he'd have chrism on his thumb, and he'd kiss the cross on the forehead. This recalls when the child was baptized, he received chrism on the crown of the head. Now he's receiving chrism on the forehead. And the sponsor stands there as a guide, as a witness, and puts his arm or hand on the candidate's shoulder so that they're saying, this candidate's not walking this journey by themselves. They have someone there with them. Having then anoint the candidate on the forehead, the bishop says, "Peace be with you," and shakes the candidate's hand. It's an opportunity to say that this candidate is now a full member of the church. That is, that he or she has been baptized, they have received First Communion, now they are receiving this confirmation which seals their baptism, and they're considered an adult in the church. And then having done that, they go back to their seats and we continue Mass as usual. At the end of Mass, of course, the bishop congratulates the students and offers their best wishes. And again, like most things, we have a Kodak moment. Usually the bishop stands here and all the candidates come around and they take a wonderful picture. Confirmation, like the name suggests, is a confirming or an affirmation of their baptism. In the old theology, we used to talk about them being a soldier for Christ. We now talk about being a witness to the faith. That these students who are newly confirmed are called to go out into the world and proclaim their faith by witnessing, by living the gospel. And after having been confirmed, again, the students, if they choose to get married or go into religious life or go into the diaconate or priesthood, they are considered adults. So after confirmation, all the other sacraments are open to them. So the sacrament of confirmation is a sealing of what happened at baptism, just to kind of brings to conclusion that initiation of the student. First, they were brought into the church by baptism, they are nourished by the Eucharist, and now they're sent forth as witnesses of the gospel. So I encourage everyone to really reflect on their confirmation, what God asks of them, and how are they living their confirmation. You know, when you were confirmed, you probably don't remember the ceremony, or you may remember it, I don't know. But when you think about it, are you living your faith? Are you confirmed in your faith? Are you really trying to be a faithful follower of the gospel and witness to God's presence in the world?